Hey everybody, in this video, I'm going to talk about if you can stay in your inherited house while it's going through probate, and if there's a mortgage on the property, who has to cover it? Let's get started. If you're behind on your mortgage, if you're facing foreclosure, if you have an inherited home, you don't know what to do with, if you have a home that needs repairs, send it our way. We would love to give you a same day cash offer. All right, y'all, this is for somebody who just inherited a property. And let's say maybe now you're living in an apartment or you just want to live in that house for whatever reason. Can you stay in that property? Now, before I answer that question, I want to say I'm not an attorney. I'm just a real estate investor, real estate entrepreneur, and I've been doing this for 5 years. So this is what I've seen based on my experience and working with attorneys and working with title companies. But of course, you want to consult a real estate attorney. Okay. So to answer that question, yes, if you inherited a property, going through probate, you can absolutely stay in that property. Okay. Here are the challenges. The challenges is if there's another heir, let's say it's brother and sister, and you guys are fighting over the property. And let's say your brother, he wants to stay in the property, but let's say you want to stay in the property. Then in that case, the executor is going to make that decision who can stay in the property. If there was no will and no executor was appointed, the court may appoint y'all an executor. Okay, so this is why you want to get along with your sibling, because if the court appoints an executor of the estate, an administrator of the estate, they're going to call the shots and they're in charge. They're going to do it their way. And also, they're going to take a fee out of your inheritance. Okay, so you definitely want to get along with your sibling. Now, if there is a mortgage on the property, who has to cover it? If there's a mortgage on the property and you inherited that property, you're going to have to cover that mortgage or it will go into foreclosure. Now, if you have a real estate attorney, they can call your lender, they can call your bank and pause the foreclosure until the house is fully in your name. However, and again, this is based on experience, those fees are still going to be due. Okay, so let's say the house is worth $300,000 and the mortgage is $150,000 left and the monthly payment is $1,500 a month and you're not paying it and your attorney was able to get a pause on the foreclosure as you transfer the property into your name. The bank is still going to want those payments. So if you sell it for $300,000, owed $150,000 on the mortgage, but let's say the fees through probate came up to $160,000, that will come out of your proceeds. Okay, the bank and the lender want their money no matter what, but generally speaking, they are willing to work with you, especially if you're going through probate. With that said, if you are going through probate, do not wait until the last minute to contact the lender, contact the bank, or get an attorney right away. Okay, get that death certificate, get that attorney, and start the process. Probate attorneys, in my experience, are generally expensive and they're going to want the money up front. If you don't have the money to pay, one thing you could do is sell your house to an investor, okay? Have an agreement to sell the house. And what they're going to do is they're going to go to a title company, and the title company is going to do what's called an affidavit of heirship. Okay, an affidavit of heirship is basically a document that states who is set to inherit the house. They publicly file it to transfer the property from the deceased person you inherited the property from and close on the property. And generally speaking, an investor is going to be willing to help you with those attorney fees that the title company is going to charge. But the title company fees are generally cheaper than a specific real estate attorney. Now, the title company usually charges their fees at closing. Okay, so let's say you sign an agreement and closing is in 30 days. All those fees are going to be paid in the back end. Okay, you don't have to pay it up front. Now, like I said, I'm speaking from experience. I've seen that title companies are starting to request fees up front because they don't want to do all this work. They get to the 30 days, and let's say you change your mind, or there's a title issue that just cannot be overcome, and you can't sell the property. Now, this is where knowing me, knowing an investor come into play. So an investor that's doing multiple deals a month is going to have a relationship with the title company. And the title company is most likely going to be willing to do the work up front and get paid at closing. Generally speaking, an investor is going to use a lender to close on this property. So they're going to get all the money from the lender, except their down payment, of course, and they're going to use that money to pay for the house and pay for the fees. Or if they're paying cash for the property, they can pay for all of it on the back end. Okay, so I hope that helped you out, guys. Can you stay in the property when it's going through probate? Yes, if you're the only heir and nobody's fighting you over it. If you guys are fighting, you will maybe be appointed a court appointed administrator of the estate that's going to be in charge of administering the estate. Okay, you do not want to go through that because they're going to dictate what's going on. They're going to be in charge, even though that's your inheritance, and you're going to have to pay them fees that are going to come out of your inheritance. If there's a mortgage or debt on that property, you're going to have to pay that debt. If you get a real estate attorney, they can talk to your lender. And I've seen lenders are generally willing to wait until probate is done, but those fees are still due. Okay, so see you guys next time. If you need a cash offer on your property, reach out to us. We can get you a same-day offer. We can help you with the affidavit of heirship, and we can get you some money in your pocket if that is what you're wanting.